Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's an honor to have the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, who I have made very popular. He's an extremely popular Prime Minister, and I'm very honored to do it because I liked him right from the beginning. I've liked him, and we've had a good relationship. We have some natural conflict, but we will probably work that out. But we've had a very strong relationship, and your hosting of the various countries that showed up, that was a beautiful job you did, and I appreciate it very much. We're going to be talking about trade. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things. We'll certainly be talking about Gaza. We're in very serious negotiations to, I guess you could say, depending on the way you count, 3,000 years. You could say 500 years. You could say, but it's been raging for a long time. And I think there's a possibility that we could have peace in the Middle East. It's something even beyond the Gaza situation. We want a release of the hostages immediately, etc. And so our team is over there now. Another team just left, and other countries, literally every country in the world has supported the plan.
Yep.
I don't think there's anybody that hasn't, actually, not that I've seen. But there's a real chance that we could do something, so you may have some questions on that later. But in the meantime, we'll spend some time and we'll make some deals and we'll do some things that are good for both of our countries. And Mark, it's an honor to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. If I may, you kindly hosted me and some of my colleagues a few months ago, and I said at the time, you are a transformative president. And since then, the transformation in the economy, unprecedented commitments of NATO partners to defense spending, peace from India, Pakistan through to Azerbaijan, Armenia, disabling Iran as a force of terror, and now, and I'm running out of time, but this is in many respects the most important.
The
what
merger
you created
of Canada
no,
and the
what
United States.
Yo, you guys saw that touch? You guys saw that touch? Let's go back.
The
what
merger
you created
of Canada
no,
and the
what
United States.
He's joking, but he's not. See, he's not. I think Canada cannot survive without the United States economy. It cannot survive. It just relies so much into it. And let's say they wanted to just move and do a full trade with China, which could be, right? The United States would not allow it. It would, at that point, we use force. And even that, I think some of like places like Alberta and all those conservative kind of provinces would just really push for referendum to just get out of Canada and just be part of the United States.
That wasn't where I was going. I would no, but on this solemn day of commemoration of the horrific attacks of October 7th, for the first time in decades, hundreds of years, thousands of years, this prospect of peace that you've made possible. Canada stands foursquare behind those efforts, and we'll do whatever we can to support
Very
them.
nice.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
Is there any, what would it take for you to drop or lower your tariffs on Canadian sectors, including aluminum and steel?
Well, we're going to be talking about that with the Prime Minister. We'll be talking about tariffs. We'll be talking about a lot of that, but that's for a little bit later on.
As the Prime Minister
I want to just acknowledge our great ambassador. Is he doing a good job?
He's doing a good job.
Otherwise, I'll get him out of there so fast.
Is it the White House's position that furloughed workers should be paid for their back pay?
I would say it depends on who we're talking about. I can tell you this, the Democrats have put a lot of people in great risk and jeopardy, but it really depends on who you're talking about. But for the most part, we're going to take care of our people. There are some people that really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way. Okay? Thank you.
Mr. President, in your opinion, why has Canada and the United States failed to reach an agreement up until now?
Well, it's a complicated agreement, more complicated maybe than any other agreement we have on trade, because, we have natural conflict. We also have mutual love. We have great love for each other. I love Canada and the people of Canada.
We love Canada, man.
And Mark
Listen,
feels the same way about
listen, we love Canada. We love Canada. Don't get me wrong. Canada can be a good asset for the United States. Meaning, at the moment, you don't have to become a state, but you can become an incorporated territory. You can become an incorporated territory, and then after that, just develop some of the powers that compel as a future state. But you will have a better economy because of the nature of becoming a state. You will have to amend your constitution, and you will have a bigger protection under the flag of the United States. However, you want to keep yourself, I don't know, whatever it is you have there. I don't know if you're really independent, but you're under the crown. So all this weird stuff that's going on with you guys in Great Britain. I think at the end, I do see Canada as a great asset. Then we can connect Alaska through all that mountain, all the way together. That economy connected to the United States, that would be a great asset. And culturally, we're very similar. We're very similar.
The problem we have is that they want a car company and I want a car company, meaning the U.S. wants a car company, and they want steel and we want steel. So in other countries, they're very far away, and there's no problem. You can compete and you can do. We don't like to compete because we sort of hurt each other when we compete. And so we have a natural conflict. It's a natural business conflict. Nothing wrong with it. And I think we've come a long way over the last few months, actually, in terms of that relationship. So when it comes to trade, the United States was always giving everything. They gave everything to Canada. And they would let car companies leave here and go to Canada. But that hurts the United States. And, other presidents didn't see that. They weren't business oriented. They might have been good politicians in some cases, not in all cases. They were bad at both. But it's a very natural conflict, and it's something that we're working on.
Canada has offered a lot of compromise this summer. Are you willing today to offer some compromise to Canada, maybe on steel and aluminum?
Well, we've made compromise, and we've made some compromise even on steel. But, we have the same basic authority and the same basic, this could be also a little bit of a conflict with other countries all over the world on steel, because we want to make our own steel. We don't want to bring steel in for the most part, but we will bring it in. And
we need that. We used to be a very powerful force when it comes down to steel. That's how we built the majority of our cities, producing our own steel. Of course, we became very lazy post World War II, and didn't help us a lot.
And we continue to bring it in from Canada, but there is a tariff to pay, and I think that would be a normal thing to say. But we've come a long way. I think, Howard, we can truly say. Do you want to make a comment on that?
Well, I think the opportunity to work together, but as you've said, there's conflict. Why do we make cars in Canada? You've called that out, and you've addressed that. So there are places we should work together, and there are places that we have natural conflict.
It's a tough situation because we want to make our cars here. At the same time, we want Canada to do well making cars. So we're working on formulas, and I think we'll get there.
Canadians are refusing to go to the U.S. The numbers are down like 23% in the first 7 months of the year. What do you say to Canadians that don't want to go to the U.S. now because of your 51st state talk, because of the trade war, the tariffs?
I don't believe that.
And the fear of also...
Look, I understand that, and Americans don't want to buy cars that are made in Canada. We have the same...
There we go. You have to talk like this, guys. You have to talk like this because of the question in itself. Saying 25% or 22% or whatever the number says of Canadians don't want to go to United States. What do you say to that? Meaning the Canadians have more leverage against the United States economy, and it's the other way around. Seriously, guys. It's between, how much is it? Between 50 to 80,000 Canadians that move to the United States yearly. That it's not even close. At some point, we have to just call space. I do believe that Canada needs to be incorporated in the United States. Of course, not make it a state right away, but just integrate them slowly. And the problem is that it doesn't make sense to have this type of economy where if you rely so much of the United States, why you're not part of it? It makes no sense. And your military is very weak, by the way. Very weak.
Conflict. So there isn't. It's something that will get worked out. There's still great love between the two countries, but American people want product here. They want to make it here. Detroit was emptied out and moved to Canada, moved to Mexico, moved to other places, not just Canada. And now they're all moving back, they're moving back. We have, right now, I was just telling Mark, we have 17 trillion, but it's really much higher. That was as of a couple of months ago. We have over $17 trillion being invested.
Such a gross salesman, bro.
As an example.
You see how Trump is just saying it's like $17 trillion, right, Mark? And Mark's saying, yeah. He's doing like what we call soft closers. He's closing him. I don't know what's going to happen, but it might seem like Canada's going to cave in with some of these trade deals. I don't know what is going to happen, but that's what it seems like. I don't think Carnegie knows what the hell's going on.
Biden, he was the worst president we've ever had, but they had less than $1 trillion in 4 years. We have more than 17 trillion in 8 months. 8 months. And I think that number is going to be $22 trillion. There's never been anything like that in the history of the world for any country, not even close. If you did 1 trillion in a year, that's pretty good. We're going to do over 20. And it's coming in with AI, it's coming in with auto plants. We're building auto plants, a lot of auto plants in the U.S. It's coming in for a lot of reasons. It's coming in because of the fact, I think the November 5th election was a big factor, and I think the tariffs are a big factor. And again, we want Canada to do great, but there's a point at which we also want the same business. We're competing for the same business.
Basically.
That's the problem. That's why I keep mentioning one way to solve that problem is a very easy way. But we're competing for the same business.
He's very good. Soft closers, guys. Soft closer. If he gets Carnegie to accept, yeah, you're right. You know what? That's what we have to do. At that point, they will do what they have to do. Because the United States is the one that carries the force, guys. And the politics. Literally, like currently Canada's economy is just affected because of the United States economy. That's what it is. That's what it is. They were talking right now during Parliament in Canada. They were talking about the Oval Office, about Trump in the Parliament, guys, in Canada's Parliament. It's insane. I just don't get it.
We want to make cars, and we're in competition. And the advantage we have is we have this massive market. So it's quite an advantage.
The Insurrection Act, that would be, a very long-standing law that's been on the books.
Yeah, well, it's been invoked before, as you know. If you look at Chicago's a great city where there's a lot of crime, and if the governor can't do the job, we'll do the job. It's all very simple. They probably had 50 murders in Chicago over the last 5, 6, 7 months. Many people were shot. And then the governor gets up and he says, well, we can handle it. They can't handle it. They don't know what they're doing. The mayor is grossly incompetent. He's at a 4% approval rating in Chicago. He's at a 4%, lowest approval rating, lower than even de Blasio had, which is hard to believe in New York. I thought de Blasio would always maintain that record, but the Chicago guy is even lower. So I think that we want safe cities. If you look at D.C., you would right now, Mark, you could go out, take your family out to dinner, you could walk right down the middle of the street. There is no crime in D.C. When I got here, this place was a raging hellhole where people would come from Canada, people would come from other places and end up getting shot. Nobody's being shot. The National Guard's been unbelievable.
Doing a good job.
I mean, they are strong, tough guys. We won something at the Supreme Court, which is a big deal, merit. Everything now in this country is merit-based. I didn't think I'd ever see it again. And we have our soldiers are merit-based too, and they're central casting. And they walk through that town, and I'll tell you what, this place is safe. It's beautiful. Now we're in Memphis, and the same thing's happening. You're getting the reports. The bad guys are saying, we don't want anything to do with this. And we're removing many people. In D.C., we took out 1,700 career criminals and sent them back to the countries from which they came, mostly led out by Biden and his people that had an open border policy. And Canada, you suffered because of that too, because they'd come here and they'd go into Canada also. So we're like a buffer for that in terms of Canada suffered greatly by Biden and the open border, the policy of open border, totally unchecked, totally unvetted. And these people were, if you got 5%, 2%, you were getting a lot of bad people. And we now have a closed border. You've done well. We have a closed border, and it's a really closed border. In fact, for 4 months, I don't even know if this is possible, but the figures were released. 0 people were able to come into the United States from the southern border. 0. And as you know, we're taking a very hard stand on drugs. This is also benefiting you. We've a lot of we call them the water drugs, the drugs that come in through water. They're not coming. There are no boats anymore. Frankly, there are no fishing boats. There's no boats out there, period. If you want to know the truth, we're saying, does anybody go fishing anymore? The fact is, we knocked out, probably saved at least 100,000 lives, American lives, Canadian lives, by taking out all those boats coming in. So it's, and now they don't come in that way anymore. Now they'll come in other ways, and we're not going to allow that either. So we've done a great job on that. But on crime, Chicago's a great city, but you can't be a great city if you have murders and if you have a lot of problems, and they do. And they have an incompetent policy, just like they had open border policy. Anybody could come in. They came in from prisons. They came in from mental.
Yeah, a lot of them, especially Venezuela. A lot of these countries, that's what they're doing. They just basically empty out their prisons, and that way they don't have to just invest resources in taking care of their own citizens. And that's evident. China does the same thing. India does the same thing. Venezuela, Colombia, a lot of these places, but even Mexico, they do the same thing. Isn't that funny that they like to just basically tell the United States how to deal with their own citizens by using white guilt? I hope the right goes very right. Because this cannot continue, guys. When it comes down to immigration, it is a problem, and we have to start remigrating a lot of folks. Especially the folks that just came here with the H-1 visa and stuff like that. Even if you are a legal citizen, you haven't even got your citizenship, man. I think it's time to go. That's my position. If you want to remigrate, you have to take extreme positions. That way you can even do something. Because at this point, it's like things are moving so slow, and it's sad. It's sad.
Drug dealers, they came in from all over the place, and we don't have that anymore. This country is becoming we're a very strong country. Look, financially speaking, I would say that because of the tariffs, because of the election, because of the policy, because of the great big beautiful deal, it's what I added the word great because it really is. It's the biggest bill ever passed in the history of our country. We don't need another bill. It's the biggest tax cuts, when you think no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime for the people. But far beyond that, what it does is incentivizes auto plants and AI and all of the things that nobody's ever passed a bill like it. We don't need another bill. We don't need any more bills. I said, let's get it all at once. I was greatly helped by our Speaker, Mike Johnson, and by the Senate. I'll tell you what, John Thune's both of those guys have been incredible. And we got a bill passed that I said, let's see if we can get it all done. Because these Democrats are like insurrectionists, okay? They're so bad for our country. Their policy is so bad for our country. I said, let's see if we can get it all done and everybody said it's not doable. Because it's the biggest bill ever passed in the history of our country. And we got it all done. We don't need anything else. We got everything we want. And now, because of that,
you can hear what Trump is saying in his face. We don't need you. That's what Trump is saying. Hey, we don't need you. We basically don't need you. We are okay. Business. You need us. That's what he's saying. Listen. Just listen, guys.
And we got it all done. We don't need anything else. We got everything we want. And now, because of that, that's a big reason why the companies are coming in. 1 year.
See, because he put the United States in a position where now we don't need you guys. You guys need us. In reality, that's what it is. A lot of people, they need the United States. They need the dollar spent right in their products, and that way they can keep moving, or have the illusion of moving, or have something. A lot of countries are getting into debt because of that same reason, but that's what it is. Even us, protecting Europe. That's not a problem. It's creating an illusion that they have the resources of the world to just spending a lot of social workers. But the problem is that a lot of the money that they're using for social work, social program, is just supposed to be their money for the military. Even though currently their citizens are paying almost 50% of their earning money towards those programs. It's crazy.
Depreciation, 1 year write-off, 1 year
The case of Canada is worse.
expensing. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. So they're coming in from all over the world. But to have a great country, you can't have crime. And we don't have crime, but we have cities where there's tremendous crime. And Chicago's one of them. And if the governor can't straighten it out, we'll straighten it out. Thank you. A question for the president.
Mr. Carney, Mr. Prime Minister, I'd like to know how come the UK and the European Union have succeeded to sign deals and bring the tariffs down, and Canada still hasn't been able to do the same?
Oh, good question.
Because they're not located right next to each other. It makes it. In many cases, it's much better and easier. But
yeah, and if I may, let's be clear about the relationship as it stands right now. We are the second largest trading partner of the United States. We do a lot of trade going across the border where we're cooperating, first thing. Secondly, we are the largest foreign investor in the United States. $500 billion in the last 5 years alone, probably $8 trillion in the next 5 years if we get the agreement that we expect to get. Thirdly, there are areas, as the President just said, where conflict, maybe not so much conflict, we compete. There are areas where we compete, and it's in those areas where we have to come to an agreement that works. But there are more areas where we are stronger together, and that's what we're focused on. And we're going to get the right deal. Right deal for America, right deal, obviously, from my perspective, for Canada.
including one thing wait. So one thing where we are working very closely is the Golden Dome. That's the protective mechanism, and you see how that works. It's
Yeah. And Canada needs that. Canada needs that. You know what I'm saying? Like they need that. They need that.
Ronald Reagan wanted to have it, and at that time they didn't have the technology, even close to the technology. But he was advanced, and we'll be working together on a Golden Dome for the two countries, and it's something that I think is going to be very important, especially when you look at the world, you look at what's happening. We want to have that protection. It's really amazing. The technology is unbelievable.
Why do you say some federal workers should not get their back pay? Why do you say some?
Well, you're going to have to figure that out, okay? Ask the Democrats that question.
Mr. President, just to follow up there, I mean, the law says that when the government is reopened, that workers will receive their back pay. So are you going to defy the law there, or what are you hoping?
I follow the law, and what the law says is correct, and I follow the law.
Mr. President.
Too much about tyrannical, right? Too much. Hey, a tyrannical guy just following the law. Isn't that funny? A tyrannical guy, a guy that is supposed to be tyrannical, following the law. Isn't that stupid? It's just insane, right?
Being empty-handed, or will Canada will Mr. Carney be leaving Washington with a deal on tariffs?
I think they're going to be very happy. We have a lot of things that we're working on that people don't talk about. They talk about, competitiveness. She's a very competitive person. And they talk about things that we don't necessarily agree on. But I think they're going to walk away very happy. I think so.